Alright, update for DogelonMars. So we're not looking too good right now. On the daily you can see that we fired a bearish EMA flip. And while the bears are losing momentum in the macro time frame, in the lower time frame, the bears have kind of reset their momentum and they are coming back. You can see in the past 8 hours, we've seen an increase in selling volume as we came back into these 4-hourly EMAs. So where could we potentially bottom now that we've taken out the last level of resistance? Now, before we jump into that, I would just like to show you, obviously, the reason why a lot of the cryptos are failing or falling right now, including Dogelon, is because that Bitcoin has just broken to the downside of this asymmetrical triangle. You can see this was very recent. I made a video on this last night. It happened about 12 to 14 hours ago, where we really just started to landslide out of this asymmetrical triangle. If you are curious, the price target of this asymmetrical triangle breakdown is here at 38,000. So Bitcoin could still have a little bit of a ways to go, another 2%. And considering Bitcoin's only down 1% or so, and Dogelon is down 5%, or Bitcoin's down 1.7, Elon is down 4.6. I just round it. But nonetheless, Elon is falling in the lower time frames. The bears are taking control, and yeah, on the 1 hourly specifically, I mean, it's getting really ugly here. But I would like to show you why I do think the bottom is near for Elon, and not really from a technical perspective. So we were looking at these Fibonacci's, and we said in our last video, this 786 needs to hold at 789, and if we do break below here, then there's really only one place for us to go, and it's probably to back test this resistance flip to support, hopefully flip to support. Now, if you haven't seen this before, if we zoom out on the daily, you can see Elon has been trapped underneath this descending resistance since the 30th of October. We've been topped out once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5, and then if we zoom in, you can see it really wasn't resistance here, we just exploded right above it. So from a technical perspective, while this really micro uptrend we were running off has technically been invalidated, I would just like to see if we can push up in the next day or so. If we keep on pushing down, then we could be coming down to sweep the lows. And the lows are debatable at that point where we could come down to, because we've got our initial local lows down here at 654. That's approximately a 17% drop. You could also argue the lows could be down to the candle body close, which also I would agree with that sentiment. That would be a 20% drop. And then also you could argue the lows are all the way down here on this wick, and that is a 37% drop. All of them are valid. I agree with all of the opinions, but nonetheless, in my opinion at least, I do think we have a strong chance of coming down, back testing this, and then blasting off. This was such a strong area of resistance, and now we're above it. I think we do have a chance to potentially, in the macro term, flip this to support and start heading off to the races. Now, we do still need to be slightly cautious. Like, I'm personally not looking to DCA or enter another trade on Elon right now. I kind of already have my bags packed for Elon, and obviously I'm looking for this to do really well if Bitcoin does start to wake up in the next couple of months and initiate a bull run. But do bear in mind, I don't think we've ever seen Elon in a bear market, because Elon came into existence last year, 28th of May, at least on this chart, and 28th of May, when was that for Bitcoin? I'm pretty sure we were in a huge rally. So was this the bottom down here? June, May. So what was the exact date? 28th of May. So the 28th of May was really down here, where Bitcoin was at approximately 35,000. We found a huge strong bottom around that area, and then proceeded to basically put in like a 2x from that region. We came all the way up to 69,000. So we could, obviously, like I said, we've never seen Elon in a bear market before, so that is definitely something to take into consideration. If Bitcoin does start falling off the table and it does enter a bear market, then it could get very shaky for Elon in the short term. And like I said, we were working on this 786 needing to hold. I mean, even if I provide you hopium or copium, drawing this to the candle body close, You know, I could even provide further hopium, and oh no, that actually moves it further away. But you know what I'm saying. Like, even if I draw this from the preferred, you know, method of the bulls now, you can see that we're still below the 786. So I have to assume that, you know, another 10% drop at least is on the table. Unfortunately for Elon, you know, I'm saying that as a bag holder. I obviously don't want to see that happen, but you know, we've rejected off this double 618 fib. And now we are starting to head down. So, you know, our best case scenario, we bottom around 675. If we come down, have a strong impulse, that could definitely be a place where I would consider opening, you know, not necessarily a long, but a short-term position on Elon. So I would like to highlight as well, if we come over to this chart, finish it off with the daily. If we look at the money flow indicator, we have recently bottomed at 20, and it does look like we want to start heading up. Now, I want to highlight that a lot of the time we do bottom at this 20 area, you know, 20, 22, 25, 20, and there's only been one time where we've dropped all the way down to, you know, between 7 and 8. And unfortunately, the market structure from this top to this bottom looks very, very similar to what I'm seeing from this top to this bottom. For example, you can see we had a huge landslide. We only had one tiny bounce, and then we basically continued to fall down. As you can see here, we've got the top. We completely landslided, had one tiny bounce, and then, you know, once again, you could argue that we could be coming down further down to the 7 on the money flow indicator, which would probably be indicative that we are going to have a flush out, you know, potentially down to the lows. But I really don't see Elon breaking below the 37% threshold, and that is really my worst case scenario, and I'm just providing that from an unbiased perspective, because if we look at the money flow indicator, we can see that previously on the daily, this is as worse as it has ever gotten, and I really wouldn't expect for us to do something like that again, you know, at least anytime soon, unless Bitcoin enters a bear market. But nonetheless, it is important to look at things from both perspectives, because if we do have a flush out, at least we can look at the money flow indicator. We can say, okay, when it comes down to this level, that would be a good place to dynamically DCA into the market. So I'm still a huge fan of Elon in the long term, but I have to keep it real in the short term. We are starting to look a tiny bit shaky. So I would like to see a reversal. Like I said, I expect us to come down to 675 and then have an impulse. Whether that's the bottom or not, we'll have to reevaluate the market once we hopefully come back above the 786 fib at 757. That's all I've got for you. Once again, your moon line is still up here, this double 618 fib at approximately 906. So that's all I see for Elon. Slightly shaky in the short term, but in the long term, the macro term, I do think the bulls are going to be coming into control very soon, as, you know, retail traders do not have much further to push the money flow indicator down. There's only so much you can sell, otherwise you'll get to a point where you don't have anything to sell, and, you know, that could potentially be something we're seeing down here, which is why I'm not looking to plan or, you know, bet against Elon, because previously when it's come down to these levels, we've just tore faces. So I'm expecting something like that. Honestly, I'm not expecting it in the next month, but in the next couple of months or so, I could expect a face tear. That is all I see. Keep an eye on Bitcoin. If we keep on breaking down, let's hope we bottom at 38,000. If we keep pushing lower, then, you know, it's not going to be looking too good for the market, and Elon included. That is all I've got for you today. Once again, not financial advice. Cowboy out. Peace.